This is Lansdowne Road Retro, where we go deep into the Lansdowne Road archives and look back at some key moments throughout the history of our boys in green. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast, and you are very welcome to episode 1 of Lansdowne Road Retro. Now, I'm not going to start giving out to you about not subscribing to the channel, but you really should. But imagine if you're watching this, you have paid for our Lansdowne Road Plus. So welcome and thank you for supporting the channel. Isn't that right, Martin? Thank the good people.
Yep, brilliant to be engaging with the Raw Faith, and we thought we'd give you this little insight into days gone past and with the boys in green. And yeah, it's gonna. I'm interested in this. Like, we love our nostalgia, don't we, Dave? And love looking back and reminiscing about brilliant days, watching the boys in green in action and key moments. You know, like this is a good one as well. It's a great place to start, I think.
It is indeed. How we're going to do it is we're going to go deep into the archives of Lansdowne Road, UR, and we're going to show you some footage. Some footage you've probably seen before, haven't seen for a very long time. Some you probably have never seen. That's not out there on the internet. Not all of it isn't out there, because I don't want someone going, "Oh, you know, I have this, I can." But some of it is very much exclusive. So I'm very, very excited by this. So we're going to do our best really to kind of create an audio and visual experience for you guys out there to give a bit of a nostalgia bomb, shall we say. And yeah, I think no better place to start than Mick McCarthy's 96-97, a very turbulent time, Martin, in the history of Irish football. When Mick came back in 2018, he was very much a polished manager, wasn't he? And people were absolutely, oh my God. And when Stephen Kenny came in after him, they were, oh, you know, Mick, can we have Mick back? Mick was so great. But what they don't, and he was great, but what they don't remember probably was just how factitious, prickly, stubborn, and a little bit chaotic the first couple of years were under Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, it was a difficult time, you know, and I've great admiration for Mick, and like we're fortunate, and Dave, we've met him a few times now.
Lovely man,
absolute lovely man, and it is just a crazy time in a way. Thinking of Mick's management career with Ireland, of course, and fantastic career as well as a club manager. Let's not forget that. But you know, it was just so crazy that he came in as was a relatively young manager coming in to take on such an iconic role as the Ireland manager after a legend in Jack Charlton, and having to manage, you know, players that were her teammates basically. So that a massive challenge.
Very
couldn't
aging
see it happening
well.
now, really.
No,
you know, it couldn't happen now.
I mean, Mick, he was 36 when he took over the job, and he looked a lot older than that. He was only 36, and yeah, he was actually younger than some of the players. He took over a very aging squad. Like, I'll respect to Jack. He did leave a bit of a mess behind, of course, the previous December. But before he got the job, it was a little bit of a farce, actually. And the FAI had spoken to a number of potential candidates: Dave Bassett, Kevin Mourning, Kenny Dalglish, Joe Kinnear, Ronnie Whelan, and then it became a bit of a two-horse race between Mick and Kevin Mourning. But have a look, Martin. I'm not sure if you've seen this before. You probably haven't, actually. And I'm not playing this up for the cameras. But here's a news report of when RTE stumbled across the interview process. Have a look at this.
Top FAI officials had a long day today with 5 candidates for Jack Charlton's job. It wasn't long before their seeker was out.
Despite our best attempts for confidentiality in this matter, you guys have tumbled to us. We did want some privacy, particularly for the individuals concerned. It might be that some people didn't want it to be known that they were talking to us.
And some people, like ex-Sheffield United boss Dave Bassett, did.
They made their points to me, I made some points to them. So it was like a discussion, really. It wasn't like taking the A-levels, sitting down and answering questions. But, you know, I found it very informative.
Another out-of-work manager in the race is ex-Everton and Norwich boss Mike Walker. He's been out of work for 16 months since getting the sack at Goodison, but he's glad to be in the frame for the Irish job.
I'm surprised and delighted that they've got in contact with me and obviously put me in contention, but that's all it is at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future.
After a good interview, Walker's hopes are far from deflated. Next in line was former Irish soccer legend Liam Brady, who reckons he's got all the right ingredients for the top job.
No, I've got plenty of experience at international level and management experience as well.
And finally, Ringsend's Joe Kinnear, the Wimbledon manager who played 26 times for the Republic of Ireland.
It was only 2 years ago as manager of the year. I've enjoyed it, and I think I've gained vast experience. I mean, I'm working at the highest level.
And so the spotlight is now firmly back on the Executive Committee of the Football Association of Ireland. Tonight...
Isn't that just mad? You just
Crazy. I've never seen that before. That's amazing.
No, I thought not, but yeah, I found Killian M2 on Twitter, by the way. Gave him a follow. He's an incredible archive on there. Just mad bits like that pop up on the internet. Yeah, and I'd heard about it, but I'd never seen the footage of it. And there you go. I mean, Mike Walker. I mean, that is a blast from the past. Obviously, the late great Joe Kinnear as well. Bless him. So good managers there. Mike Walker, he did very well with Norwich in the first season of the Premier League. Went to the Premiership, then went to Everton, and he was terrible there. Went back to Norwich, I believe, after that. But yeah, Liam Brady as well. God,
yeah. I didn't. I that just totally blew my mind. That Liam Brady was in contention for it there, and I'm kind of regretful in a sense that I didn't realise that so much, because I would have asked that question to him.
Well, you could, yeah, you should have. And by the way, if you're wondering what he's talking about, that is in the archives. By the way, you may be paying for this, but you're not, you're not immune to some shameless plugging here on Lansdowne Retro. But yes, the interview is actually in the archives. You can find it there. The Liam Brady interview, Martin chatting to the great Liam Brady there in the Clyde Ring a couple of years back. It did come down eventually to Mick and Kevin Mourning, which is a bit mad, really, when you think about it. Joe Royle also was refused apparently permission by Everton to speak, and Dalglish refused an interview. That's why he didn't see Dalglish there. Probably saw the cameras went now. Now, allegedly, the story goes that I don't need to interview him, Kenny Dalglish. He was Premier League winning clause.
Yeah, I mean, God, crazy.
Yeah, Kenny Dalglish, he just won several league titles with Liverpool as a player manager, and then won the Premier League just the season before with Blackburn Rovers. So, but there you go. So Mick obviously did get the job eventually on the 5th of February. On the 3rd of February, by the way, it was his last game in charge of Millwall, which is 2-0 loss to Southend, and they were actually on top of Division 1, and then we'll get relegated that season. So, whoops-a-daisy. Here is some footage, more footage. I told you it's a bit of a footage blast here, Martin, from Mick's unveiling when he became Ireland manager on the 5th of Feb.
10 years on and no surprises this time, Mick McCarthy was back at Lansdowne Road today for his official appointment as Irish team manager, a decade after another Englishman, Jack Charlton, took the job. McCarthy made it clear to the media he's very much his own man, though he has been described in some quarters as son of Jack.
Some didn't like my father. Let's see how they get on with his son,
McCarthy is well used to the international spotlight. He played for Ireland 57 times, 23 as captain.
When you're playing, I thought I was invincible when I was 21, 22. I never thought I was going to stop playing, to be honest. Later on in your career, then you start thinking of coaching and management. I think you don't think you're going to be given an international manager's post.
Were you aware how big a story this was in Ireland, the fact that all the papers, everyone in the pubs and clubs of Ireland were talking about it?
I think you know how aware I was, because I spoke to you about it, and you were the only person I did really speak to about it, because it was for Irish TV, being aware of how important it is to people over here.
So then you're aware of the level of expectation post Jack Charlton?
Yeah, I am. Look, I've got to take that one on the chin, the expectation. It's no... My job at Millwall wasn't easy all the time. The expectation was there as well. All right, it's on a bigger scale, but it's still expectation.
McCarthy has had a long association with Irish football. He made his debut in a green shirt in May 1984 against Poland and scored one of 2 goals here at Lansdowne Road against Yugoslavia in 1988. Was he the FAI's target for the job, though, or was he a compromise candidate?
He's the man the FAI want now, but I think that Joe Kinnear made it easy for them by withdrawing last week, and that reduced the options open to the FAI. Bear in mind they had been through other candidates as well. There was a school of thought that felt Kenny Dalglish or even Alex Ferguson might have been the man. So he is the man the FAI want now, but whether he was always the man they wanted is another question.
And how is he going to do?
I think he'll do very well. He's shown in his 4 years at Millwall that he is a man who is prepared to learn as he goes along and to accept that it is a learning process in management. So my hopes for Mick McCarthy are actually high.
He'll be, by his own words, judged on his ability to get to France. But if he's doing well in all other respects and gets us to France, then it's likely that Mick will be with us for some time.
Your job for the moment is for 2 years. Would you like to be like Jack, do it for 10?
Wouldn't that be lovely? If I'm here for 10 years, it means I've been a success.
Just a few things to unpack there. Bit like when Jack came in 1986. You know, the feeling was, well, you weren't really the guy that we wanted, but you're here now, I suppose. I think George hit the nail on the head there as well, friend of the pod, when he said that, okay, maybe he's not the guy that he wanted, but he has the ability to learn on the job and improve on the job. And that is something that Mick most certainly did in his first 6 years in charge.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Like, you know, he did adapt, and yeah, look, we can look back at hindsight, can't we, and see how Mick McCarthy developed. That is just, again, mind blowing, that video. I mean, Cork Todd, unbelievable. Tony O'Donoghue, fantastic there. George Hamilton, you know, names as well, synonymous now with Irish football. Looking back, and you know, Mick was a bit spiky there, wasn't he, in the unveiling press conference? You know,
already
on attack and all that already. You know, and I think even that, as a manager, then he learned how to really manage the media as much as possible, and we've seen now with the recent managers of Ireland how important that was and is, that you have a good relationship with the media, and you know, you need them on side, and it took Mick probably a bit of time to learn that, but as George Hamilton said, he was a manager that was going to learn.
Yeah, and I mean, he said out there, how he wished to go on with the press, you know, that comment, well, he didn't like my father. I mean, it was really, it was really testy. And as you say, yes, he got a bit more polished as he went on. When you see the Mick in 2018, he's so different to the Mick in 1996, which I kind of liked it. And you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? But trust me, that's what Lansdowne Road Retro is all about. We're going to unpack that for you as you see in some of his comments. And yeah, just brilliant stuff, and a roller coaster ride there as well. He was actually the first full-time manager of the Republic of Ireland. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, because Jack was actually a part-time manager, and that's why he took the job in '86. But it evolved as it went on, and that was something he bemoaned even in the '94 party that they had in the Phoenix Park when he came back from USA '94. Jack's like, oh well, you know, it's you know, I barely have any time to myself. Like, it's a full-time job. That's why he wanted the Ireland job, because it was a part-time job.
Do you think that was why then, you know, when we're talking about George Hamilton was saying there, you know there was an approach apparently to Kenny Dalglish and Alex Ferguson. The mindset of that would have been that was a part-time job. No way were they going to be giving up Man United and Blackburn to take on the job full-time.
I think at that time, and I don't mean to, obviously Ferguson, Man United. No, definitely, I think that was a little carrot. Well, you know, it doesn't have to be. It could still be part-time, which is it's kind of where the FEI's mind
Irish thing, I was saying,
yeah, you know, it was like your previous manager telling you for at least the last 6 years of his tenure, or his 9-year tenure, really wasn't telling you this is now a full-time job, and they're still in that 80s mindset. Dalglish, I think, was upstairs, wasn't he, at Blackburn? He wasn't the manager at the time.
Yes, you're right. He got upside.
Yeah, which is something I'm still don't understand to this day what happened, but there you go. But he was originally supposed to be signed on a 4-year contract and only got a 2-year contract. A little bit of turbulence. 10 days later, the FEI refused to make Ian Evans LTAF. That's his nickname, by the way. There he is there. Yes, I'm not being racist towards the Welsh, but they refused to give him a full-time contract. It did get ironed out in the end, but yeah, that kind of showed you what Mick was dealing with. He took a pay cut actually as well, didn't he, to go from Millwall to Ireland, and he said it that he rang Jack up about it, and Jack said, "Take it. I know it's a pay cut, but take it. You will not regret it.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me in the sense of Mick as the kind of person he is, that he's done that, and you know, the pride he would have had in taking the Ireland job. You know, it doesn't come around every day as well, that job. So,
Yeah.
you know, he probably had confidence in his own ability, of course, the manager, but knew the inner workings of the squad, knew the players perhaps coming through as well. So, he was obviously confident enough to take it on. And yeah, look, going again to Jack for the advice is a nice kind of segue from the past, like amazing, you know, great results over the years, 88, 90 and stuff, 94 World Cup, of course. So Mick was going to get that really, and was never going to turn it down once he was offered.
No, absolutely not. Moving on a little bit, the 7th of February, Millwall replace Mick McCarthy with Mr. Jimmy Nicholl, Northern Ireland international. There he is at World Cup 86. And yeah, Ireland have been confirmed to play Russia, Czech Republic, Portugal, Croatia, and the Dutch before flying to America for the US Cup. That's their itinerary for the year ahead. However, there is an impasse with the travelling conditions for the Irish. They're expected to play 2 games in the US Cup in LA and 1 in Boston. This is too much for the FAI. So already they're having issues with the fixtures. Fast forward to 14th of March, Paul McGrath comes out and says that he wants to keep playing football. He's at the age of 36. He is due to leave Aston Villa at the end of that season. He had a great season for them, actually, and he wants to play against Russia, which of course is Mick's first game. Paul McGrath, 36, though. Martin's still doing the business for Aston Villa, but they're going to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, look, what can I say about Paul McGrath? I mean, you know, this is raw retro, of course, but everybody in Ireland knows Paul McGrath.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. And people forget as well what an incredible player he was, you know, how good he was. And, you know, we know about the troubles with, you know, the personal troubles, of course, but the injury troubles he had and that he didn't train stuff. But, you know, I've heard and listened to loads of other football podcasts as well, not as good as ours, Dave, of course, but
Absolutely.
You know, anyone who ever played with Paul McGrath, and I'm talking about players who, you know, were with Paul McGrath when he was at the end of his career, and that amazed that, you know, they all say best player we ever played with, but he never trained, and he would just come out and he just knowledge and understanding of games, amazing. So brilliant for Ireland that he said he wanted to still be there.
Yeah, fantastic, and you know, helpful to me because you don't really want to ostracize all the old players like at all. You got young players to come in. You know, it did need a lot of work, but you want that transition to be smooth as possible. Fast forward to the 26th of March, just one day before Mick's first game against Russia. Roy Keane complains about being harshly treated by the press for his lack of playing time in green ahead of his first game for Ireland in Dublin for a year. Keane only featured in 3, Martin, Euro 96 qualifiers due to a hernia problem. Keane opted for a hernia operation 24 hours before Ireland's crucial game against Portugal in Lisbon. He played in the 1-0 loss to Arsenal on the 4th. So, yeah, Keane, I didn't know that actually, Martin. And I want you to explain to the Raw faithful. Keane had opted ahead of Ireland's, that was the final group game in the Euro 96 qualifier, which is something we will do something on, don't worry. Where we lost 3-0, and I think we had to get a draw. No, we had to win to sort of win the group. But we know the story of Euro 96. But Keane, instead of playing that game in Lisbon, got a hernia operation before. That's not great, is it?
Okay, I know what you're doing, Dave. I know what you're doing.
Absolutely. I'm not hiding.
No, I didn't know that. And I mean, look, we will have a bit of a deep dive, I suppose, into that Euro 96 qualification campaign and look into that in a bit more detail. Of course, I'd like to double check that fact. But look, it's an interesting one, isn't it? With Roy, and you know, crazy actually. We were just talking about Mick and how he was treating the press and that kind of spiky relationship, and then Roy's coming out feeling the same. But yeah, look, we know where Mick and Roy, that troublesome relationship, of course, and yeah, I mean, it's not a good look that he's opted for that. But what I would stress is it shows you the power of Man United, Alex Ferguson at that time, Keane as well, where he was professionally, probably thinking about, you know, long-term Man United in a sense, and you know how Ireland are, were they treating it seriously, what they were trying to do, going forward and things. I would imagine, I can't speak for Roy Keane, of course, but his priorities
give it a
would have
go,
been Man
though.
United. Well, his priorities would have been Man United at that time, without a doubt, wouldn't it? So he's thinking of that.
Not a crucial, qualifier. No, of course not. No, always Man United. Yeah, no, that's
no. I'm not
fine.
defending it. I'm just saying.
Sounds like you are, Martin.
He's no, it's just a very strange one.
Yeah,
and I think probably a lot of stuff going on in the background there.
And this is something that we're going to do in Raw Retro. We're going to there's narratives that are put on situations, and I'm going to rip up, with the help of Martin, those narratives, and we're going to give you what happened. I go through the archives, and when we do our studying for this, we go through archives, we go through all the bits and pieces, and we go back to the time, because stuff gets forgotten about, and then there's a narrative, and it's kind of put with varnish and a bit of paint on it, and it's put away in the shelf, and people always remember that narrative. No, we're going to take it out, we're going to rip it up, peel back the varnish or the paint, whatever, and we're going to show you what it was in its raw beauty. Let's see what it did there, Martin. Anyway, let's move forward to the next day, which was Mick McCarthy's first game in charge against Russia. At the game, I remember watching it in RT, Martin. I take it you weren't at this one. You were watching it at home, were you?
Yeah.
They handed out copies of the Charlton years to fans, because it was obviously the first game post-Jack, which is kind of sad in a way. But let's have a look at the starting lineup here. I've got a screenshot of it. Have watched the game back since. Sorry, this is the RT screenshot.
It's not one of your bits of art, is it?
No. But that's what we're about here on Raw Retro. We're going to show you the stuff. If we can show it to you, we're going to show it to you. If we have something mad and we've got it, we're going to show it. If we don't show it, we don't have it. So there's Given making his debut as a 20-year-old. Kernahan, God, three at the back, Martin. None of this 4-4-2 nonsense. Three at the back. Kernahan, McGrath, Staunton. Then you have Roy Keane. Andy Townsend was still the captain at the time. And then, of course, Jason McAteer, Mark Kennedy, Terry Phelan, which is a strange one. McAteer and Phelan as wing-backs. And Kennedy playing in behind John Aldridge and Niall Quinn. That is another thing people forget about, that, Mick really wanted to change things up, like three at the back with wing-backs. The system that Stephen Kenny, of course, has been lamented many times on this podcast for doing, and there's Mick trying to do it all the way back in 1996.
Look, I'm still going to say, put out Graphic Cup again. Dave, can you explain, please, to the viewers here, what's the numbering about there? Like, look, it's 1 to 11. When it was real football, this is it, 1 to 11. That's how it used to be. No silly squad numbers or players saying, "Oh, I'm not this number today, and I'm this."
Yeah.
That was it. You had to earn a shirt, didn't you?
Yep.
And look, brilliant though. I mean, I love doing Raw Retro because it's looking back on it, and we obviously have the benefit of time that we can look back and see these amazing players and what they achieved in their careers with kind of glorious revisionist hindsight. And absolutely brilliant. Like that squad, that team there, you put them out on the pitch now, and looking back then and what they have all achieved is incredible. Oh, not everyone, of course, because I know you're going to be very damning about one of these Highland players, aren't you? Who was rubbish? You said, isn't one of the players not very good?
Oh, sorry, Alan Kernahan. Yeah. He had an bless him. He had an awful time. I mean, he went to the US Cup, I think, and then that was it for him. But yeah, Alan Kernahan McGrath was superb for Ireland, but Alan Kernahan got an awful time. Bless him. And it's sad for him because he made such a sacrifice to play for the boys in green at that time, from Northern Ireland. His family's from the north. And he switched allegiances, and he got an awful time. We've actually got highlights of this, Martin. Little highlight package. We're not going to show you highlights of all the games, because we'll be here all day. We're 24 minutes in, and we're only getting to our first game, so we're not going to show you highlights of all the games, just the key games. It's not because we don't have them. It's just a time thing. So let's have a look here, if I can find it. Where are we? I know. Do you know what? They've just thrown all the videos everywhere. Here we go. Here is the highlights of the Republic of Ireland against Russia. Mick's first game in charge. Enjoy.
McAteer made the interception. Simbalar has it. In comes Kanchelskis. Laid back for Mostovoy. Mostovoy shot. Oh, that's a smashing goal. And that's for Kyriakov over the head of Alan Kerner. What a great ball that was. Kyriakov, Gibbons missed it. Oh, and Kanchelskis. Steps forward, score in the past against Russia, but not from the penalty spot. This would be his first penalty. Oh, Cherchesov saves. Did well to get away, and then silly Roy Keane. That really was uncalled for, and is a yellow card for the stand-in and a red card for the stand-in Irish captain. I have to say, I think the referee is right. Roy Keane, that was totally uncalled for, and what do you expect?
Roy Keane getting sent off. He was made because Andy Townsend went off, and Mick McCarthy, captain, getting sent off in his debut. Yeah, I remember watching this thinking it was a completely different performance than you see under Jack, actually trying to play football, wing backs, that kind of thing. But yeah, pretty much dismantled. I'd always forgotten about the penalty miss. Steve Stott missing a penalty.
Yeah, very rare.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So it was mad because we'd beaten Russia. No, we drew Russia. I remember in '94, first time we played Russia. It's always been the Soviet Union, and yeah, we drew 0-0 with them. I remember a couple of years ago, and there they are, giving us a bit of a battering, but not off to a great start with Mick though. And Roy, was it straight away red card?
No, I mean that's poor, but I mean, and I will come on to it. I'm not just glossing over it. But look, it's a brilliant, again, just looking back at the old stadium, isn't it? There's a tinge of sadness looking at it there. And one thing I say, and we still see it now, sadly, with Irish football when we're playing at home, is when there's a goal scored against us, it's just kind of half muted silence, isn't it? It's kind of shock. There's no real reaction because there's not a lot of fans there, obviously, supporting the away team. And it's like you can even hear the whistle afterwards. Okay, off to the centre. Great days. So, I mean, look, Roy, that was silly, as George Hamilton rightly said. I don't know though. Would that be was it a yellow card or was it straight red?
Straight red.
Yeah. Would you not? Do you not think that was a bit harsh?
No, he kicked him.
Would that be a straight red today?
Yeah, he kicked him. Like he just booed. It was like,
I'm desperately clutching here.
You are clutching the straws. Listen, if that's a straight red in 1996, that's a straight red in 2025. No, not.
He did have that in him though, didn't he, Roy? Like, it reminded me a little bit of that one. It's a little bit like he's obviously antagonized by the guy pulling him, and he's turned him really well. But like he's pulling, tugging. It reminded me a little bit like the one with Jason McAteer, like his teammate on the night of Sunderland Man United, many years later, where he just reacts, doesn't he? These stupid things that he does, and that was it, and it cost him. But very, very disappointing that would have been for Mick, because he gave him the trust, obviously making him the captain when he's taken off Andy Townsend, and it's poor reward for that, really.
Yeah, and that'd be one of many poor rewards from Mick to Mick from Roy. Moving on to the 12th of April, Mick, funnily enough, was banned from receiving FA Cup final tickets for 10 years. Every manager, I think, gets. I don't understand it, but apparently y'all get I used to get FA Cup tickets, final tickets if you were a manager, and basically his £4 £60 tickets that he gave to his friend end up in the hands of Norwegian fans at £350 each. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Mick, didn't know that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
24th of April, Republic of Ireland have their second game on Mick McCarthy. It's a 2-0 loss in Czech Republic. Freidek and Kuka with the goals. Still finding our feet, the boys in green under Mick. Fast forward into to May that year, 23rd of May. Roy Keane made captain for the US Tour, the upcoming US Tour, because Andy Townsend, being a senior player, was rested. There had been doubts over Keane's dedication to Ireland, having only played 3 out of Ireland's 11 Euro 96 qualifying games, only playing 3 out of Ireland's 11 Euro 96 games. I'm just making sure we get that point in there. 3 days later, on 26th of May, Roy goes AWOL and does not show for Mick's testimonial, which is a 3-0 win over Celtic 11. Keane is banned by the FAI and stripped of the captaincy. Martin, your boy Roy, going
Boy,
AWOL
Roy.
on the boys in
Listen.
green for the first time.
No, you've got to remember as well the back of this, this time as well. Off a heavy season with Man United. I think Man United won a double, didn't they? 96. Roy was key part of that, and that's just after the cup final, isn't it? That May,
Yes.
and it's just before Euro 96 starts in England as well. So I'd imagine Roy at that time, he's out celebrating a great season with Man United, and again, got to question it, and the proof of it's there that he's not that dedicated, is he? He's not prioritising Ireland, and that's why he's just sacked it off, really.
And look, by the way, I do understand it was a bit mad calling him up. He should have been one of the players rested. Now, I know he was looking at the future, probably for the Euro 2000. He's going to be made captain, which he was subsequently. Spoiler alert. But there's ways of dealing with it. He should have sat down with the manager and said, look, I'm knackered. I'm from this. I've had injuries. Do you mind, respectfully, if I can sort of sit at home from this? And, but I'm dedicated, blah, blah, blah. But he just didn't show up, and he actually admitted this in subsequent interviews. Roy Keane, he said, "Yeah, I just didn't go out. I just didn't tell him." And see, I know this is not a Roy Keane podcast, but that's what drives me mad. As people forget about this, I didn't. He was at watching cricket in Old Trafford. He just went on he just went missing. And it was poor professionalism. And this is a player that goes on about professionalism, and this is a player that just bangs on about. There's revisionist history at Roy Keane, Martin. I think you have to. Oh, Joe, you have to agree with that.
Yeah.
And we're here to tear up that revisionist history and give you what actually happened.
I mean, this is I know it's not a Roy Keane podcast, but it's a key part of Mick's early years there, with having the challenge of, as I said, managing players that he played with and was going to be moving on from the Ireland squad. That transition from Jack Charlton's time, of course, but Roy was going to be a pivotal part of that because he was one of the best players in the world at this time, without a doubt. Playing the Champions League for Man United, he was, he'd been at United from 93, then won the double 94, 95. Really crazy season for Roy Keane, where that was the game, the semi-final replay of the FA Cup, where he got sent off with a stamp on Gareth Southgate, and then you see Dennis Irwin round with Ray Houghton and stuff like that, having a go at each other. But that's the Irish squad that, I know this happens in football, but that's the squad that Mick's working with those players. So those three names I said there, Houghton's still involved, Irwin, Keane. But you have this kind of protective thing of Roy Keane in a sense, and then Mick's managing it. He's calling players up. Roy's had long seasons. We know he's got his demons as well. He's established himself at Man United by that time. We know then we go on, spoiler alert, season after, gets this terrible injury, Roy Keane. But this is where, it's that kind of not power struggle. It's like, we know Roy Keane is needed by Ireland, and Mick's got to try and manage that. And for him not to turn up is incredibly unprofessional, and it's going to be damaging, as we know, long term with Roy Keane.
Well, it gets worse.
Relationship.
Well, it gets worse because 3 days later, the boys in green are playing Portugal at home, which we would lose 1-0. Fola with the last minute winner, and I remember watching that as a kid. I knew we're holding on. I said, please don't concede, and of course we did. But Roy Keane gives a statement during the game, by the way, explaining his absence, and Mick is only made aware of this as he's told about it in the post-match press conference as it's read to him. That's the first he hears about this. So yet again, I mean, it's clear that Roy Keane has no respect for the Ireland team at that time. He's no respect for Mick McCarthy. Maybe it's because of no respect for Mick, and that's why he's treating the Irish team so shoddily, really. And people have to understand that. And that's, we talk about 2002, and Mick finally loses the brag with him. But it wasn't just Saipan. It was there was so much disrespect shown by Roy Keane to Mick McCarthy. Now I'm sure you have people, well, he deserved it because look at all this. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's if you want to take Roy Keane's side, because he's this great player, and he was a great player, won all these trophies. But there's a way that you present yourself. There's professionalism. There's a bit of courtesy there. You might not like the guy, although Mick is an absolute gentleman. You might not like him, might not like his methods, okay? And you're dealing with one of the best managers of all time, the biggest club in the world at the time. At the time, Man United had all the top facilities, and you're coming back to Ireland, and the facilities aren't great, and it's all very, it's all very slapdash, and Mick's kind of learning on the job, and you go, but like, there's still a way to there's a way to present yourself, there's a way to handle yourself, and he just fails all. And that's what annoys me about Roy. And I'm going to stop going on a rant about it, but that's what annoys me about Roy Keane, because he bangs on now to on the Stick to Friends podcast, where he's like, oh, well, I did this, and you all think, it's all funny. No, he did so many things to undermine and piss all over the Ireland shirt, which drives me mad, because he was so privileged. First of all, God-given talent, brilliant player, and he was so privileged to play for the boys in green and be such a pivotal player and captain the boys in green, and he just didn't really appreciate it. And I just think it's very important that we make that point. Anyway, so they head off to the US Cup. It was a very busy year, of course. Euro 96 is on at the time. Sorry, they haven't headed off yet. The next game is at home to Croatia. It was played on a Sunday, I remember. It wasn't shown on telly. Friendlies, Martin. Friendlies weren't shown on RTE at this time. That's how much we were plummeting, really. But yeah, a 2-2 draw at home to Croatia, which is unfortunate. Schuker and Boban with the goals for Croatia, and Keith O'Neill and Niall Quinn. Niall Quinn with a last-minute equaliser for the home team there. Then they go off to the Netherlands and lose 3-1 to the Netherlands. Obviously, these are all Euro 96 warm-ups. We take the lead under Gary Breen, but then the Netherlands come back. Bergkamp, Seedorf, Koku, some team they had back then. And then we move on to the US Cup. Now, we're not going to show any highlights of the US Cup, because we're going to do a separate show on the US Cup. So we're just going to gloss over it a little bit. The first game, Martin, was to the hosts, the United States. David Conley giving the visitors the lead in the 57th minute with Ramos and Reina, then giving the US the victory. And then he had that 2-2 draw with Mexico, which was actually Packy Bonner's last game. You remember this game against Mexico? We have covered it, and we will cover it again. Absolutely bonkers game of football, where Liam Daish gets sent off, Niall Quinn gets sent off from the bench, Mick McCarthy sent off from the bench. It's Packy's last game as Ireland. The referees demoted after the match as well. It was all chaos. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to covering this one, because this is crazy. Like, I've seen the footage of it, we've watched it, and I think that this one as well, this tour, this is where obviously Mick, obviously not going to Euro 96, but Mick's probably kind of established himself as the boss of the team, obviously, setting down some kind of ground rules and things, but very protective as well of his players, and having that kind of siege mentality, trying to create that. And like you said there, Packy Bonner's last game with Ireland and stuff. So it kind of changing the guard, isn't it? So, again, one thing I'd also say, Connolly, what a player. I mean, we probably just didn't see enough of him in an Ireland shirt, sadly, but incredible player for us. So yeah, I mean, I remember some of the goals from these games as well. But yeah, it was a strange one, especially all the sendings off. I think it kind of shows Mick's not one for messing around in a sense, and very protective of the lads.
Yeah, I do miss this era a little bit, because it was completely, I was almost unhinged a bit, it was you didn't know what you were going to get. Mick was arguing with the press. We're going to see footage of that, by the way, don't worry, and we're just kind of giving the footage a little bit of a just a rest for the moment, because we will be here all day, and you're going to see him barking at the press, having a go at people, and it's really fascinating time. And there was an edge to this Ireland team. Players getting sent off. I think I think it was only one player ever sent off in the Jack Charlton era. Can you name him? I can.
Go on in.
Packy Bonner.
Oh, right.
US Cup 92. I think he took down.
Yeah.
It was Signori, I think it was. Penalty, and Signori did the whole thing. Oh, I can't jump over him, and he took him out. Yeah, it's the only player I can think of that got sent off on a Jack. That's off the top of my head. and already, Mick's first game, Roy sent off. The manager sent off. You never saw Jack. Well, I suppose you had Jack admonished after the game against Mexico, but to be fair, that wasn't Jack's fault really. So it was a real edge to this Ireland team. They were real underdogs, and then I remember at the time people at school were turning against them, and I was like, no, I like this, and getting really excited. And I remember even taking pride, even in the 3-1 loss against the Dutch. I was like, you might tell my grandmother, bless her, and she even told me to shut up. I was like, yeah, but we took the lead against the Dutch. Yeah, but you lost. Yeah, but we took the lead, But anyway, it was all fun. Finally, the next game, the final game, the US Cup. Mick's first win. It took 8 attempts to get there. And it's a 3-0 win over Bolivia. And that's Keith O'Neill with a brace and Ian Hart basically giving him a 3-0 lead at halftime. But he finally gets his first win. And of course, after that, a couple of months off, and it's time to get ready for the France 98 qualifiers. So interestingly enough, Martin, even though Keane had completely disrespected Mick, and we're not going to get too much into that. On the 10th of August, Mick recalls Keane to the squad. And finally meets him 3 days later on the 13th of August.
Yeah, I mean, look, it just shows Mick knows, doesn't he, that he will need, we can't deal without Roy Keane. He's one of the best players we've got available. So, it shows the bigger picture that Mick's thinking of. And again, there's the trust. Mick's got a fantastic management style. We know that, man management as well. You hear so much, ex-players all talking so glowingly of him with that. But Roy was evidently a challenge for him. But Mick just kept kind of not backing down. I don't think it's a sign of weakness of Mick. He just kept giving the opportunities because he knew that with Roy Keane, with Ireland, you've got a better chance of winning games and qualifying for tournaments and stuff. And even the players would have indulged that as well. His other teammates, they all said that themselves. So I think Mick probably would have just managed Roy a bit differently, like that. He let Roy kind of do what he wanted in a sense, and wants him in the squad. But look, that's just him. He does that, and let's just get him on the pitch. A little bit like Paul McGrath with the injuries. Doesn't matter about training. Let's not piss him off. Let's just have him be himself and contrary around the camp and demanding everything, and the lads will just manage that and understand that. And obviously it came to a head many years later, but the players probably would have indulged that. Roy Keane's not there first and won't be the last players indulged by his teammates because what he does on the pitch ultimately. But I think great admiration again for Mick, how he's tried to manage that. But Roy, I think we know, like, this Roy mentally at this time was a complete kind of problem for everybody. I think Alex Ferguson managed him very well as well, of course, with that. But he knew how important he was for Ireland. That's the thing. So he can behave like that in a way.
Yeah, and didn't he just? But then, of course, 5 days later, Roy is out for 3 weeks with a knee injury. Yeah. Sorry, I just gotta let you go on that. And I was like, yep.
No, I know.
And he pulls. Well, you got the same notes as me. Well, slightly. Yeah, I've slightly modified. Aldridge. Then 4 days after that, John Aldridge withdraws from the squad because he had to stay behind and manage Tranmere after the Football League refused to postpone the game against Bradford. That's mad, isn't it? The player manager. That's a little look into 90s football there. So on the 31st of August, the boys in green have their first competitive game unless you count the US Cup, but not really. And obviously, the year previous, we had drawn 0-0 with Liechtenstein. No such issues this time around. The boys in green hammering them 5-0. Andy Townsend, Keith O'Neill, Noel Quinn with a brace, Ian Hart with the goals. It was over. It was 4-0 after 20 minutes. And then basically, Noel Quinn got a second in the second half in the 61st minute. Roy Keane injured again on the 26th of September. And then on the 9th of October, we play Macedonia. And you know what? I'm feeling generous, Martin. I'm going to play the highlights of this game.
be handling the evolution of Jack Charlton's old team rather well. The straightforward approach has become more sophisticated, and that was enough to see off Macedonia in Dublin.
Oh, that's well played by McLaughlin. Oh, he's got McAteer to his right, and he's clear. And McAteer! Oh, Cascarino's in here. And Ireland go 2-0 up. Tony Cascarino in the first minute of the second half. Now, McAteer. Kenner is onside. Cascarino is waiting, and there he is! Big smile. Cascarino's second goal of the night and Ireland's third.
Cascarino having a little bit of a renaissance as he did under Mick. So it was all looking good, wasn't it? It was looking rosy. Took 8 games to get a win, and then we are back to back, albeit against poor opposition. Never heard of Macedonia. I'm sure somebody is out there is going, it's called now Macedonia. FYR Macedonia, former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, was our first game against them, which is wild when you think about it. But yeah, great goal there by McAteer, wasn't it? Roy's mate.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic again. And yeah, really good commentary as well. Loving it. Like, it's brilliant looking back at them days, isn't it? And like putting the ball in the box and delivering the ball. And Cascarino, what a threat. We don't see enough of that, sadly, now in modern football. Yeah, look, you know, the Irish fans are with them though as well. Like, attendances were good as well. Still, you know, 30,000 at that one, and 31,000 to be exact, just over. But also interesting, Alan Kelly playing, you know, because Shaker had come in after for that America tour, and you know, but Kelly seems to be the number one for the World Cup qualifiers. So you know, it's good and like a time of crazy kits as well. Like seeing him come out the tunnel there in that crazy purple shirt, brilliant. What days?
With FAI, I remember my brother seeing that kit for the first time. What's the story with the FAI across the top of it? What? Proper 90s, Irish 90s. No, I do love it. Of course, Ireland joined top with Romania on 6 points each, very early days. We move on to the 10th of November. Now, Roy Keane is back. It's Ireland against Iceland. And everybody's happy about it, that Roy Keane's back. Cathal Dervin, he asks the fans to boo, apparently in his column. And some do. Now, I've got some footage of this. This is from a documentary, McCarthy's Park. Brilliant documentary, by the way, if you can get your hands on it. But here is Mick talking about what went on that afternoon.
Roy Keane returns to the Irish squad for the home game with Iceland. Keane's commitment to the cause has been questioned. One newspaper has called for him to be booed at Lansdowne Road.
There was a couple of articles that actually encouraged fans to come along and vent their anger or show what they actually feel for Roy. Now, whatever they feel for him, what I would say is something that's bigger than that is the rest of us in here. That's the important thing. The team and the team doing well. And from the start of the game, when they booed Roy, the atmosphere was very, very poor.
Does it depress you, Martin?
Outrageous.
I could imagine you at that game, swinging digs. Stop it! Yeah, he was booed by a few. And not the first time he was booed at Lansdowne Road. But to be fair, he did get man of the match. He played as a centre half and then was moved into further up the pitch, which is crazy when you think about it. Negative approach by Mick is slated in the press. Mark Lawrenson wasn't too happy about it. Some of the ex-pros, ex-teammates turn on him a little bit. But that's not where the controversy ended there, Martin. John Aldridge retires directly after the game, says he lost all respect for Mick because he never thought to play him. And he writes about that in his book. And by the way, because it's raw retro, I have it right here. Let me see if I can find this here. Yeah, no, I will read. I will read Aldo's side of it from his book, and then I'll play the Mick's response to, because I have it here on video. That's it for me, Mick, I said. Mick looked shocked and said nothing. And the team coach afterwards, it was his turn to approach me. What's up, Aldo? He asked. I'm finished, Mick. I am retiring. Fine. But why? Mick, bloody hell. I've been away from Tranmere for a week, which wouldn't be too bad if I was here to play for Ireland. But there we are, drawing 0-0 with Iceland. The crowd are chanting my name, and you put Mursey on instead of me, Alan Moore. The crowd would have been lifted, and had I been sent onto the field, and in turn, that would have lifted the players. It would surely have changed the nature of the game in our favour, and I might have got on the end of something and given us a 1-0 win. Oh, I never thought of that, Mick said. Even I wasn't prepared for a response from Mick. My respect for him as a manager diminished in the time it takes to utter 6 words. I decided to wait a few days before announcing my decision, sensing that there would be a media circus if I announced my retirement immediately. I didn't want the spotlight. That's, yet again, doesn't get mentioned these days. No. And that is direct from his book, by the way. And that is from... Now, I'm sure they've patched things up, but that is a book that was written around that time, which is why I love reading these things. And it's page 232. Now, before you get your comments, Martin, here is Mick's.
After a disappointing goalless draw, there's more happening in the changing room than dressing for dinner. John Aldridge, frustrated with his role on the fringes, has decided that tonight will be his last night in the Irish squad. Another senior player evaporates.
I hadn't felt as low after a football match for a long time. I'd been across to see the chaps of the press. So I came in here and I have to put my dress suit on, my monkey suit, which the last thing I wanted to do was put my dress suit on and go anywhere. But I went to an awards dinner. As I said, I'm hopping into one like that, and Aldo came round and said, that's it, I'm calling it a day. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I said, I'm finished, I'm packing it. See you, thanks for everything, and went, and that was it. Left me stood there, you know, with my leg in my trousers. I was very disappointed, yeah. I wouldn't have chose for it to end for John like that anyway.
Bit surreal, that, isn't it? But, you know, yet again, Mick is a young manager. Ironically, John was managing longer than Mick was at that time with Tranmere. I think he was. I actually could be wrong on that one, sorry. And, you know, John had actually tried to give Mick some advice with certain things, and Mick just didn't want to know, which is fair, by the way. And he did say that is absolutely fair enough. But he wanted to change things, become more professional. He didn't want the lads out drinking before a game. Imagine that. Where, you know, obviously Jack had things a little bit differently. And, you know, it's always funny, isn't it? Because Mick was obviously the Captain Fantastic, one of his trusted lieutenants, Jack's, but he's coming in and he's doing things completely differently. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the big challenges Mick was going to have. You know, former teammates, a bit older than him as well. You know, Packy Bonner's gone. Aldo, you know, absolute legend as well. So, I mean, we keep saying everyone's a legend in Irish football. We're obviously looking back, raw retro. We know what they achieved in the green shirt, of course. But, you know, it was just naturally coming to the end for Aldo anyway. And it never ends well, does it? So it was a big challenge, though, for Mick, you know, trying to transition this squad from Jack's days, moving on some of these lads who've been fantastic servants for Ireland, was always going to be a very, very difficult challenge for any manager. But Mick coming in and then having to drop or change things, leave out former teammates, you know, that he's had amazing days with as a captain, you know, that relationship he's formed with them, you know, they'd have judged him over the years as a player, leader, you know, the massive character he was in Irish football. So it's just, it was always going to be a bit of sadness with that. It's never going to end well. So, you know, this was the night of the FAI Awards, wasn't it? 96 Awards. And, you know, like Mick said, he's the last place he wants to be going to after that kind of devastating news in a way, that part of the ways. Interesting though, seeing that footage again, you know, all the lads coming out, going off to these awards in the monkey suits, as Mick says. Kevin Moran's there as well. Did you see that?
I did, yeah, chatting away to John. What happened?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but again, I just think it shows that incredible bond and that lots of big characters are still around the squad. They're still around the players. They've moved on from, you know, I think, was that when Kevin perhaps gone into kind of the agency kind of role, didn't he, and things like that. So,
yeah,
you know, look, Irish football's amazing, but, you know, nothing would ever surprise you in it. and the politics of it all was very, very raw at times. And
Yeah.
these friendships, they'll have patched up now. It's football, we move on. But sad really though the way that it has ended like that, because for Aldo not to get the acclaim he undoubtedly would have deserved.
And he was very close to the record as well, which Frank Stapleton, he's on 19 goals. Frank Stapleton had 20, and then of course Noel Quinn would surpass with 21, and of course Robbie Keane would just blow it out of the water with 68. Very. And actually, I think you'll see this with the carrot. This isn't the first big player, senior player to leave. This is the first one, but it's not the last one, I should say. They finished that season. Macedonia are on top of the group, played 4 with 7 points. Ireland played 3 and 7, and Romania only played 2 with 6 points. Alan McLaughlin, may he rest in peace, was the FAI Senior Player of the Year. And we finished 36 in the rankings, having started at 27th. Moving on to 1997, and the boys in green play Wales in Wales in a boring 0-0 draw. Don't have any footage of this game, actually, which is frustrating. But hey-ho, you can't get everything on, I'm afraid. It's just actually a little post here, a little Lansdowne Road post here. So 11th of February, 97. Paul McGrath's final Ireland game. There he is with Sparky Mark Hughes, a superb player as well. 2 great players. And also, another probably not as well-known fact, that it was Roy Keane's last away friendly for the boys in green, 1997.
There you go.
Don't need to
we learn things.
We do. So 2 milestones there. But it was Paul McGrath's last game, and we're going to get into that now in a second. Moving on to the 2nd of April, the boys in green head off to Macedonia, or the boys in orange. And, hopefully for a handy 3 points. Wasn't to be, of course. This is where the phrase having a Macedonia came from. The boys in green having taken the lead through Alan McLaughlin. And I remember George Hamilton saying, that's number 1. And then all of a sudden, we're 3-1 down. And then David Kelly got a goal back to make it 3-2. But probably the most memorable moment from this match, Martin, I'm sure you agree, is not actually the loss, which is, considering, quite a bad loss. But check this out. Jason McAteer.
Needlessly in the shenanigans that followed. And there's a hold-up at the end of this. But look at McAteer's challenge here. And the foot was very high. Mind you, the other player hadn't left the ground, but it was a strange way to be going in for a high ball with a foot up like that. So who's to go?
That's incredible, isn't it? Like, he almost killed a guy.
Yeah. I mean, probably doesn't get talked about enough, really, that challenge, because it's
outrageous.
Yeah. Like, that was complete. I mean, that's frustration, though, wasn't it? Late in the game as well when it happened. But, this was a real testing time, though, for Mick, because, even like you just said there, McGrath's gone, Aldo's gone within the space of two games. That disappointment of that November, that game where we drew at home 0-0, a lot of pressure, obviously, booing of Roy. The results aren't going well. That's the thing, and then it's another drab 0-0 away to Wales. And then this is an awful result for our qualification hopes.
Yeah.
Because, again, let's be honest, at that time, Macedonia, no one would have known who they were. They were just underrated, weren't they? It was like viewed as kind of minnows. And what the hell are we losing to them for? The Irish football public would have just thought, who are they?
Yeah.
And how have we lost? And, that team that went out on the pitch there, they should be smashing them, would be the perception. But that's not the reality of it. And, very, very disappointing, because it was getting critical now in our hopes of qualification, of course, as well, how it was going to impact.
It really was. And, obviously there was a bit of disruption before the game as well. And after. Beforehand, Paul McGrath, he withdraws 1 hour before the team were due to fly out with an Achilles. Now, obviously, if you read the book, you know that Paul had one of his episodes and basically just was a no for state to travel, really. But they were going with the Achilles angle. This is what Mick had to say about that. This is after the Macedonia game and just before the next qualifier against Romania.
After Macedonia, rumours of disenchantment from older players swamp the manager. McCarthy surveys the wreckage.
I think 1 or 2 of the older lads sort of mentioned certain things that were done under Jack, and I know I was done under Jack. I was one of his loyalist disciples, and carried out orders to the full. No problem with it. But it's different. It's changed. We do it differently. If people aren't happy the way I do it, then come and tell me, and we'll get a shoot of them, and they can come back. If after October I'm not here, somebody else can bring them back and play them then. That's the way I look at it.
Paul McGrath's return to the squad has been brief. His failure to travel to Macedonia has generated some informed speculation.
Can you explain what happened with Paul McGrath from Macedonia?
No. I've no change on my view what happened with him with his Achilles. None whatsoever.
So there you have it. Apparently, as well, after the game, Andy Townsend, it was reported, went in and had a bust-up with Mick over the 3-5-2 formation that Mick was playing throughout this time. And actually, eventually, after that, it was scrapped and he went back to 4-4-2. But just very quickly there, yeah, you can see already, you know, the older lads, they want their pint. They want to go to the cinema. You know, the usual walking down Stephen's Green. We love you, Jackie. We all this. You know, and to be fair to Mick, it's 1996. 97, sorry, at this rate, and 96. You can't. It's not 1986. You know, all the other teams are being professional. We got to be professional too, right?
Yeah, you got to match it, haven't you? You got to try and compete and get every kind of edge you can. And again, just this is the big thing, and I think Mick doesn't get enough accolades for this. You know, he dragged us out of that, the kind of the most unprofessional aspect of Jack's time, which undoubtedly got us results, but it wasn't going to last forever. That so. No. He's had to go in and change the guard there and transition correctly into modern football and more professional. And that's aligned in a way, although it's not the way it's happened with Roy's behaviour, but that does align with Roy's demands, isn't it? We're more professional later on. He gets it. I mean, he's still quite immature at this time, I think, with it. But, you know, very, very difficult time for Mick. I love the way, though, he shut down the press there in a sense. He just, it's Achilles. No. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, he managed, he's learned an awful lot. I can go into it with you, but no, who are you to ask me in a way? Didn't do it in a very arrogant way. He just went, no, my position's not changed. That's it.
Exactly.
Believe me or not, I don't care.
Yeah. And of course, that leaves the boys in green. Not great position in the group. Romania played 5 on top with 15 points. Macedonia played 6, second on 10th, and we played 4, and we're still on 7 points. Moving on a few days later, later on to that month, the fixtures are all over the place, actually. And of course, we have to travel to Romania, and yeah, we've got some highlights here for you. Where can I find them?
Experience here. He's not a natural defender. He's ahead of that. I think he tried to knock down to Ray Houghton and knocked it to the Romanian player. It was a great finish. And I think more natural defenders would head that ball away and get more distance on it. And he was well punished for his mistake, because you can see him here. He gets well to the ball, and you can see him just trying to pick out Ray Houghton. Romanian player got on. It was a beautiful finish. Participation as good strikers expect the best. Got onto him. He was very unlucky here, but the goalkeeper hit the inside of his leg. To knock it back was always a disaster, I felt. And the 4 at the back is much better.
I think on that game as well, but I think you've got to remember that Romania didn't play that well. I think the opening shot we saw there, John, happy as well with the 4 at the back. I think players know what they're doing. Jeff Ken has already said it, that he prefers to play as an orthodox right back instead of a wing back. And when you have players saying things like that, I think you know that's
for a change. I always thought it was common sense. You see Keane now missing the penalty, which was vital in the game. But players playing in the possession best.
So you can even hear it's a bit all over the place. We can hear the commentators. You can hear Jim Beglin and Johnny Giles. That was actually taken from the Liechtenstein match, and Beglin is on the panel because, well, we'll get to that later on. But yeah, a much improved performance. Should have actually drawn the game. That was probably our first really good performance on a Mick, and we were very unfortunate. Roy Keane missed a penalty. To be fair, it was a decent penalty, but Dennis Iram was subbed off in the game, Martin, and that's why he missed it. But you could see, actually, before the game, Amy Dunfield predicted a 4-0 to Romania, which goes to show you where his confidence was at the time. Right, we'll move it on there. Next month, we play Liechtenstein, which the boys in green come out as 5-0 winners. David Connolly with a hat-trick and Cascarino with 2 goals, which leaves the standings as Romania having played 6 with 18 points. Ireland played 6 with 10 in second. Macedonia played 6 with 10. And Lithuania played 5 with 9, which is ridiculous when you think about it. It's Lithuania. No disrespect, but here we are in a 3-way UR for second place. Before that game, as I did say, Eamon Dunphy walked off the panel, and let me play the footage of that.
First, though, some other business. In our last World Cup programme, during coverage of the Ireland versus Romania match, certain comments were made about Mick McCarthy and the possibility of his contract being extended by the FAI. We've been contacted by representatives of Mick McCarthy who've asked us to point out that Mick McCarthy has always put the team's interest before his own, and that his primary concern is that the team qualifies for the World Cup. Any suggestion to the contrary was not that of RTE, and RTE regrets any offence which may have been caused. In an entirely separate matter, Eamon Dunphy has chosen not to participate in tonight's programme. He has informed RTE that he was unhappy with the way he was depicted in a sketch in Sports Stadium prior to last Saturday's FA Cup final. Right then, back to tonight's match, and it's been very much a mixed bag of results for Mick McCarthy's team thus far.
Mad. So Jim Beglin's on there, and he makes some comments. I'm not sure what the comments are. Probably a bit negative towards Mick. And he's angered Mick, but he doesn't realise he's angered Mick. And we will get to that later on. So Eamon Dunphy walking off the panel. Not for the first time. He walked off after 86, didn't he? The 86 World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Dermot Morgan.
Yeah. A bit of a sensitive soul, old Amo, wouldn't he?
Can be.
And yeah, look, and he understood the media though, didn't he? As a key part of it, of course, and the coverage, and iconic, wasn't he? So, but it's just funny, isn't it? Like RTE not pandering really to the FAI's like perceived insult and stuff. It's great times, isn't it? Like it doesn't happen now. Jeez, we look at like the press conferences now and the spikiness of managers, or when they shut the media down. It's just, God, they'd be very, very sensitive now if they were on social media and things.
Are you suggesting that Mick was maybe a little bit spiky? Here's a photograph of Mick after the Romania game.
There he is. Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
How are you feeling in the background? It's like, what are you playing at? Like,
take a photo of me if you want. There you go.
There you go. You're number one.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We're moving on there. And there was talk in the media about a 2-year contract extension to show a bit of confidence. 16th of June, actually, there was talk of him being linked with the Celtic job, which is kind of mad when you think about it. Wouldn't have been a bad shout throughout the years that followed. Then we were at home on the 20th of August. Yet again, these fixtures are all over the place. Like, they do not match up to the 5-window calendar that you have now. Games in August and games in May and April. But it was a 0-0 draw with Lithuania, which is very disappointing, which left the boys in green not in a great position. Romania running away with the group, 7 games, 21 points. Macedonia, 8 games, 13 points. Ireland in third, 7 games, 11 points, with Lithuania, who are also in 7 games with 11 points. That was a chance to pull away, but it was really, really poor there from the boys in green. Moving on to September, of course, 97. It was a mad time, Martin. Very sad time for yourself, obviously, the death of Princess Diana. I joke. That was, I think you'd have to understand, being around at that time, how much that affected the whole world, really, genuinely. But yeah, actually, a bit of news before that. On the 2nd of September, 1500 show of own hands testimonial. So there you go. Ireland against the League of Ireland 11. But then the day after, Scotland, funny enough, Martin, agreed to postpone their qualifier against Belarus, which is due to take place on the 6th of September, which was the day of Princess Diana's funeral, which is also the day that the boys in green would travel to Iceland. Just have a little bit of footage here, Martin, and we'll get your thoughts on that.
Her compassion for those maimed through the evil of landmines, and many, many, many more. We give thanks to God for Diana, Princess of Wales, for her sense of joy, and for the way she gave so much.
It's affected everybody. I mean, all the players have spoke of the incident, of course. And I think we're all touched by it. I know I was saddened and upset by it at the weekend. And if I was at home, I'm sure I'd be sat watching it. I might even be up there, but as I'm not, we'll do what little we can. I mean, the whole nation is in mourning.
That is just a different time. And the players would wear black armbands in memory for Princess Diana. Could you imagine that now? For a British princess?
Yeah, I mean, it just is a crazy time, and again, we forget it. You know, like it just was like, it was like around the world, everything. It was before social media, of course, and things, but it was just momentous. I mean, everyone knew what had happened. Everyone was speculating what happened. The emotion of it all, it was just people didn't know how to grieve and things, did they? Like around the world, I'm saying, like they felt this kind of empathy, of course, with the situation, what had gone on, and you know that 2 young boys were left without a mother, of course, and that kind of massive personality or world famous person. But so it just shows you there. It's quite nice and reflective in a way, just seeing how it kind of sums up a little bit. You know, Mick as a person and like a father and a husband, and just that football really wasn't kind of as important in a sense, because this was the news story, and the lads are going off to play a game, and we're going to try and focus on a qualification game. But it was such a massive news story that they're there in the hotel lobby watching the funeral. Incredible, or watching the coverage of it. I mean, that's where we got our news. It's just incredible. And then the gesture, obviously, to wear the black armbands or whatever, it was just mad. Like,
and the FAI wanted to push the game back because of the funeral.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Just a different, Mick had said to the written press, but Princess Diana wasn't just a British celebrity, she belonged to the world. I think it's fitting that we should now join in respect being paid by people around of the world. I mean, second generation Irish in that team, and everyone in that team probably, I think, were playing other than Tony Cascarino. I think he was at AS Nancy. And yeah, they had all basically made a living in England, so they would have felt it. I remember at the time, Sky News, when it happened, my grandmother, unfortunately, we didn't know. I didn't know at the time anyway, but she was terminally ill with cancer, and it was just a very weird time. And basically, Sky News, the day of the death of Princess Diana, they basically just didn't. It was really weird. They just played episodes of The Simpsons all day, and when it went to an ad break, they just had stills of Princess Diana, like a bio. They had no adverts. It was really peculiar. And just before that, the Daily Mail, I think it was the Daily Mail, was running a smear campaign against Princess Diana, which they always did, and they went after her. And there was something that was going on, and then basically they put that journalist on gardening leave, or you just and we'll get back to that later on. It was really weird time. You'd have to, those of you younger members of the Royal Faithful watching that thinking, what? Just imagine it. Imagine that now, if that was Kate Middleton and the Irish lads trying to wear a black armband, it would go off on social media. But it was just a different time. And of course, there was a qualifier to play, a very important one. The boys in green were in a window of 2 games, two away games, Iceland and Lithuania, and they had to win both games to guarantee a playoff spot. So here's the highlights of this. Is an interesting angle. It's a bit of a longish clip, Martin. It's about 2 minutes, just over 2.5 minutes, and it's of Mick watching the game from the sideline, where the boys in green beat Iceland 4-2 in Reykjavik. Enjoy.
Renew their faith.
We know what we have to do. We have to win the games, and that's all we can be focused on. There's a lot of thoughts in my head on that, and how, if we are being bogged down at a goalless draw. Can we change it? Or how if, God forbid we go one down, can we change it? Sillier things have happened. We're all in Macedonia, aren't we? You can know with the mood of the players while they're here. Yeah, they are up for it, yeah, they are focused, and yes, they all desperately want to play in the game. But on the day of the game, you don't know what's going to happen.
Can we play? Can we play, Shay? Hey, Stan! Stan! See if we get the ball down now. Come on, then. Come on, Andy. Get him going, pal. Get the game going. Good ball. Come on, you're in there.
Chance here. The flag stayed down, and it's a goal. And Connolly makes it 1-0, and the drought has ended.
Yes, Stan! Back in here, Stan!
Daniels, Sigurdsson. Oh, a fierce shot and a fine equaliser by Gunnarsson.
After a good start, Ireland concede 2 goals, one either side of half-time.
The flag stays down, and that's 2-1.
Stand! Stand! Get hold of him! Get hold of him! I'll do ya! Stay in the middle of the field, let the other two do it! Stand! Go and beat him! Get up against him! Put it in the box! Shea! Get it down one side! I'll do it then!
Kennedy curls it in. And the heads are there, there's the equaliser!
It's left to Roy Keane, who was booed at the home fixture 10 months earlier, to make amends.
George Keane in the middle, Roy Keane trying to get in there, Keane still going, and there's number 3! Persistence, McAteer winning it back, and it's played into the path of Townsend, and it's fallen for Kennedy, and it's got in!
Yeah. Keep it! Jason, keep that fucking ball, we fought you up, you fucking...
Jason, in the corner of that.
Alan, stay on the monster! Didn't fucking underestimate you this time, you.
You can only imagine what I said there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought I was just mad. Mick, you'd always hear him, wouldn't you? His booming voice at Lansdowne Road. Brilliant stuff there. 4-2, and I must admit.
Who got the 2 goals to get him back into the game?
Yeah, Roy Keane. It's the least he could do, mate. Same amount of games he played. Well, almost the same amount of games he played for the whole of Euro 96, was it?
Oh, dear.
Now,
that's what a result that was, though.
Yeah, it was a bit all over the place, but 4-2. I remember watching that actually. Yeah, I can remember watching that game in RTE and just being like, wow, Roy was brilliant. I must admit, he really impressed me that day, and he should have. It's all about impressing me, as well. But no, fantastic, and it paved the way for the next game, which of course was a 2-0 win up in Lithuania, thankfully, which guaranteed the boys in green a playoff place. And we've got some highlights here, and actually we've got a nice bit of footage after this. Have a look at this. Bear with me. Here we go. I'm trying to find the number.
Free kick to Ireland with some 17 minutes played. McAteer coming over to be the instigator. The Liverpool connection involved, and it looks like it's going to be Steve Staunton from Aston Villa who's going to take the free kick. And Staunton does take it, and across the face to goal, that was Keane, and in goes Cascarino. Well, Roy Keane celebrates, he put in the cross, but it was Tony Cascarino who finished it off. It's a corner. Only half clear by McAteer. Oh, that's brilliantly struck. Zukas, a goal out of nothing, and the celebration, well, it's entirely justified. A sweet goal. And Lithuania are right back in this World Cup tie. 20 minutes to go, just under. Cascarino, he's done it this time. Another header for Cascarino. And McLaughlin's there, but Cascarino gets the goal.
Do you recognise the commentator?
Oh, go on.
Stato.
Oh, Angus Loughran. Yeah, Angus.
It sounds like he's got a mouthful of water. Why can you lot not pronounce the name McLaughlin?
You lot?
Yeah.
Alan McLaughlin.
You're all right. You passed the test.
Jesus, any of the Raw Faithful regulars, they know that I have no pronunciation problems. Jesus. Calling me out. Joking, are you?
There we go.
Interesting on that, though. Like, I mean, that was on Eurosport, that game, wasn't it? The coverage. and yet, they don't do an awful lot of football now, do they? But I think they were probably having a go at it then. And interestingly, but both goal scorers, they went to the wrong player after the goals.
I mean, that wouldn't be Eurosport, to be fair. That'd be Lithuania.
No, yeah.
But yeah, dreadful. Looked like something from 1987. Never mind that. It was really bad. And you can see in the ground there, like the 90s hadn't really hit Lithuania. You know, the way to dress. Bless him. But bless him. No, I'll respect the people of Lithuania, a place I do want to visit, actually. Anyway, I've met from Lithuania, actually really nice. A lot of work colleagues from there. But a very important win there. Obviously, that guaranteed a playoff place. But funny enough, when Jim Beglin went to congratulate Mick afterwards, this is what happened.
I wouldn't take it from ex-players through the media. Some great players have had a pop, but I still don't, as I said to you before, I still don't respect their opinions. I see it, take it on board. Sometimes I might bring it up, other times I just leave it. Jim, don't particularly wish to speak to you. I'll speak to the people at home. Sorry, pal. You've made your bed for me.
Hello, Mike. We are ready to go.
Maybe you and I will speak at another time when you're not congratulating me on a victory.
Fair enough.
There you go. Had you seen that before?
I think I have, yeah. I think, or we spoke about it anyway, because you're a big fan of Jim Beglin, aren't you? That's what he's going to do to you next time he sees you when you try to interview him. I don't want to speak to you, Dave. Stop harassing me around hotels.
That barring order is still in place. Got Jim Beglin, gentleman. Mick, a gentleman as well. But he'd been critical. I have to say, from Mick's point of view, they're very immature from Mick, isn't it? Like, he's, I mean, you have to admire him. Just, I'm not speaking to you. Right. I'm not speaking to you, gruff Northerner. But yeah, I think it was a bit immature. Look, at the end of the day, and I think Mick would look back on that saying, I'm not, by the way, I'm not totally sure what it was that Jim said. I don't think it was any one line he said. I think it was just sort of, but he did speak about that though, and off the ball a few years later. Jim Beglin did, and he said that he felt it was a setup by RTE because he never did the post-match commentary. He never did.
Yeah.
He was always the he was the colour commentator, co-commentator with George Hamilton, I'm sure, who covered the game at the time, and he sent him down to do it. So he said it was a setup just to see what would happen for TV. Which is kind of mad. It's a bit naughty, that, isn't it?
Yeah, that is though. Yeah, but that is the kind of media age we were in there though. Then, now, that was before like doing that social media likes and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, Mick, let's not going back to the football though. Like 2 really, really good results there away that he needed, and he got them. And even looking at the footage, I mean, it's fantastic insight, isn't it? That from pitch side, you see Packy Bonner as well, part of the backroom staff there. How they manage games and how Mick's man management and even demanding of a very gruff management style, I suppose, calling Jason McAteer a knobhead or whatever it was at one stage, not keeping hold of the ball, numpty, and then calling that Shea, demanding of Stan and Andy Townsend to get them going, and notice maybe they edited it out, but he's not having a go at Roy. Roy got him out the mire there with that 2 goals, didn't he? And but I think it just shows you fantastic insight into it, and And if you look at that group, and I think this is where it's important, we obviously do Raw Retro, is if we were to just sit down with Ireland fans now and say, Ireland were in a qualification group with Lithuania, Macedonia, Romania, Iceland, and you're talking about that, and you say, where do you think Ireland finished? How do you think we got on results-wise against them? it was a very tough group in a sense. They weren't like we scored a lot of goals, of course, but and hammered some teams, but some of these games are really close. And again, hindsight, you can look at the quality of the players and think, well, how did they struggle so much?
Romania,
but they were difficult.
Just for the record, Romania finished 10 points clear on 28 points. We finished on 8. We play Romania in the next game. Spoiler alert, it was dead rubber. We drew 1-1 at home. It was a complete dead rubber game, to be honest. And, we're getting ready for the playoffs. But yeah, it was very poor. I mean, points dropped to Macedonia, points dropped to Iceland, points dropped to Lithuania, 0-0 draw at home to Lithuania. It was all over the place, the formation. You could understand why the senior players wouldn't really react well to Mick's management, because Mick's very, Mick's the kind of guy I think you want to run through walls for, and he always does well with the younger players. They look up to him, and he'll shout at you, he'll call you a numpty 1 minute, and then he'll have his arm around you next minute. It's just I get it. I've worked with people like that, and it's not mean. It's not, because he did it with Dennis Irwin a couple, in the next 2 years, in 2 years' time, he does the Dennis Irwin, all right, prove me wrong kind of thing, just to try and G him up. And Irwin's like, don't you, he retired because of that, from international duty, just things like that, and you could see why the older players probably didn't react as well, unlike the likes of Quinn and Cascarino, because Cascarino had a bit of a surge, didn't he? So yeah. But a bit immature from Mick, I thought, with Jim. At the end of the day, he's got a job to do, and I'm sure they're cool now. And they had, and probably Mick realized that he had a lot of growing up to do, a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
to be fair, when RT are allegedly doing things like that. But just 17 days after that, Keane does his cruise ship whilst attempting to trip Haaland, and he's out for a year. So there you go, Ireland's best player. And as we mentioned, the boys in green drew 1-1 at home to Romania, and then would move on to the playoffs, which is the 29th of October, 97. Funny enough, Liam Brady and Frank Stapleton wanted Paul McGrath to be recalled, but that wasn't going to happen. Not a great performance by Ireland. I remember watching that. I actually remember watching this in hospice. My grandmother was in Harold's Cross. She was really, really, really ill at the time, and remember just not really caring. Kind of weird. Dennis Irwin with a free kick, and then Luke Nicholas. It was a very poor performance, Martin. I'm not sure if you remember too much of it.
Yeah, was that it? Yeah. And yeah, I remember Dennis Irwin's goal, of course, but yeah, a really rainy night in Dublin. And but what, thinking back at it now, like what a loss Roy would have been as well, for that, because undoubtedly he was coming into his own there. He's influencing Ireland with goal scoring performances.
United captain as well.
Yeah, he had just taken on the captaincy of Man United. So, because that was around the time of retirement of Cantona, wasn't it? Around that time, 97. So yeah, like best time for him in a sense. And then he got injured. So, it's a weird one though to call him back of McGrath, because defensively, Kenny Cunningham's coming into it, isn't he? A bit more for Ireland. And
Green and all that.
Yeah, interesting as well seeing Jeff Kenner playing. But they weren't a bad side, of course. Defensively, I think we're Ian Hart's there. We're a pretty solid unit. Staunton's still there, of course, as well. And the flip flopping of the goalkeepers is another interesting one, though, isn't it? Alan Kelly's in a few, and then Shay Given's there.
He did that a lot.
Belgium games, yeah. But he
even
did,
up to
that happened.
2002 World Cup,
yeah. So again, that even looking at Ireland's goalkeeper situation now, isn't it? It does flip flop a little bit, and it has. Maybe we've just haven't had that, I suppose. But yeah, I remember that game, and I think the optimism of going to Belgium then for that second game was going to be very, very difficult to get a result there.
Well, let's have a look. This is a mixture. This is a weird version of this game I have. It's RT commentary. It's Fox. But because Americans weren't really used to showing football at the time, so they kind of spoil the commentary. It is live. It's a live feed. So this is how Fox covered Ireland's second leg playoff anyway. Enjoy the footage.
Oliveira's gone through here. Gibbons out of his goal. Oliveira goes on. Cunningham throws his. Oliveira scores. Well, the goal
that Belgium haven't really threatened, but it came when the lightning-sharp Oliveira taken quickly and maybe hasn't been wasted. It's Kelly. In comes Townsend. Townsend has Cascarino in the middle. That's for Cascarino. Houghton's there too. And Ray Houghton has equalised! Ray Houghton has got the vital away goal! And Ireland are right back in the hunt. And it's Ray Houghton all over again. Remember Stuttgart. Remember Giant Stadium. Now we can remember Brussels, where it all began for Jack Charlton in 1986. And Ray Houghton, razor sharp once more.
Right now it's 1-1 in the 68th minute. I'm Lionel Biona from the Fox Television Center in Hollywood, along with Mr. John Doyle, who played for the U.S. World Cup soccer team back in 1990. He was the most valuable defender in the MLS last year, playing for the San Jose Clash. And John, we're watching a very good game here. The Irish have become aggressive. They've got they got a goal to make it 1-1 in the 58th minute.
Yeah, I think the weather conditions have played a little part in this too. I mean, the pace has really picked up. The Belgians tried to sit back and just weather the game away, I think. And oh, great play. Excellent goal by Niels. Just finished it well. Great ball through.
So Belgium has scored again. Luke Niels on the goal. He's the one who scored the goal for them in the first game against Ireland, and he's got go-ahead goal in this one right now, and the place is going absolutely berserk.
That commentary, Jesus Christ. I think that's actually just dispelled a myth there, one that I propelled. I thought the Luke Niels goal came from a throw-in that should have been ours. Actually, came off Kenny Cunningham.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I think the Irish version of that was on the other side
of the pitch.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
They do that sometimes in different countries. And on our side of it, it looked like it came off Olivier, but actually came off Kenny Cunningham. So there you go. We've actually dispelled. I was looking at that last night going, because I remember it being the other side of it. I'm pretty certain of that, if you check that out. That is the Irish version, because it has all. So basically what they used to do back in the day for our older viewers is that, like, for the worldwide or the home audience, you'd have the camera on one side, has all the Belgian sponsors, and then on the other side you'd have all the Irish sponsors, because back then the Irish had a lot of clout, and you'd go to England and whatever, and you'd see all the Irish sponsors, wouldn't you? Galty, Gatto, Bus Éireann, like, really always paid a lot of money for that. So it was always a weird one, but there you go. Went out, very good performance, really, and I think that if we did finish it on a high note, but it was a real, just quick before we wrap it up, man, just a really, really good performance by the boys. We're very unlucky, actually.
Well, I mean, Ray Houghton's goal was absolutely brilliant as well, and George Hamilton wonderfully kind of reflects on that and kind of sums it up, doesn't he? Talking about it's nice the way kind of mentions, 88 and 94 Giant Stadium and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, brilliant goal. I mean, he did have that knack, Ray Houghton, of scoring some incredible goals. And like you just said, there, it's his last game for Ireland, and this is kind of summing up this period with Mick's management. He's given them, like, iconic players, all were there at the start of it, but he's moved them on for whatever reasons, themselves obviously dropping out of it a little bit or whatever. Just age has caught up with them all. But it's a team in transition, as I keep saying, and very close, to qualifying for that World Cup. Like 70th minute, concede the goal. Look there at the subs, puts David Connolly on. David Kelly, I think, gets on as well. Really pushing for it at the end. And if we'd have got that equalising goal for 2-2 in the night, the away goal rule was there. So
yeah, very,
very close. Just heartbreaking though, to go through that whole campaign. And but shows as well, difficult group. Some really poor results in a way, like 0-0 draws at home and things like that just can kill you. You said as well, like 10 points behind Romania. But he's had a lot of challenges there, with those players dropping out. Roy Keane's injury as well. I mean, he would have undoubtedly made a difference in the playoffs, without a doubt.
Well, I'm just looking here. The Irish feed was on the other side. So it always looked, just looking at it there, it always looked like it went off Oliviera and not Kenny Cunningham. So it wasn't actually. So we debunked another miss. But yeah, you're absolutely right there. Roy Keane would have made a difference. I think Paul McGrath would have made a difference.
Yeah.
naive defending for the second goal there. An opportunity very much missed, and I think the final clip has to go to Mick McCarthy, and this is how he felt after Ireland's elimination from the World Cup.
I lashed the coffee mugs around. I'm sure they'll be sending me a bill because I booted one and my foot was stuck up the fucking thing for about 15 minutes, I think. It was stuck to my foot. There's coffee everywhere. I've given everything a lash, and I'd kept it until I got in the dressing room, and I was livid. I was seething, I was. But when the lads came in, I changed very quickly. I felt desperately sorry for them. They came in, they'd given a lot. Given a lot for me, they gave me a lot for themselves, for Ireland, and I was very proud of them. So my anger turned very quickly to sort of sympathy with them, and to try and console them. It's really hard. There were a lot of tears in there.
So there you go. That ends Mix 96-97. Can you guess, Martin, who won Player of the Year for the Boys in Green that year?
Roy Keane.
Yeah. You have it in front of you. I sent you the same bloody notes. And we finished 47th in the world, plummeting down those rankings. It will get much worse, actually, before we get better. But there you go. That was Mix 96-97 here on Roar Retro. We hope you enjoyed it. This, of course, is the first of many episodes. This is how we're going to do it. Tell us what you think. It's for subscribers only. So €5 a month. Not bad, is it? You get entertainment like this. We're going to have one every week for you guys. So if you like what you see, tell people about it, please. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to keep the channel going, and your support is very much appreciated. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast. You're all very lovely, and we'll see you on the next one.